I'm Ryan, and this is the Sound Project. Today we have Chris Sanders with us. Chris, I've known you for a little bit, but I don't know how to introduce you. Usually I say what the role is, but you've got a role with Audient and Korg. You have a role with Studio Help. So
yeah. Problem solver, man. That's
there we
me,
go.
man. I'm the problem solver.
We have
I'm Chris
Sanders, the problem solver. So anyways, thank you so much for joining.
Of course, man.
So we met we both used to work at Sweetwater.
Yep.
And so we were both sales engineers and met at our time there.
Yep.
And then we kind of reconnected recently with Studio Help and with us at Haverstick Designs.
Yeah.
But go ahead and just first off, just talk about how you got involved with music and like what your career trajectory has been.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, that's a perfect place to start. So I started out in a place you probably wouldn't expect, producing hip hop in a basement in Detroit, just $50 an hour, just vocalists coming in with beats off of LimeWire, and trying to keep some money in my pocket, and also like learn the craft. Later on, kind of getting out of middle school into high school, I got into an internship with a studio called the Thinkers Lab. And there was a guy that basically took me under his wing and put me through the woodshed, of just like, this is EQ on an analog board. This is, gain staging for an entire drum kit. This is mic placement and phase coherency and all that good stuff. So I got to learn it in a practical application without having to, spend an insane amount of money, pursuing like a degree in it necessarily.
Sure.
And then from there, I went to Michigan State, studied economics.
Okay.
My parents were not convinced that, a music degree was going to change the world for me, but,
sure.
So went and did that, got the degree and, went and worked at this music store.
Okay.
It's not what you would do with a degree, but music is what I wanted. And they have these things called capstone classes where you have to like basically like figure out what you're going to do with this degree. And like, it walks you through some of the more practical applications for what you've learned. And I didn't want to do any of that.
Sure.
I knew like guys that studied econ were rich, but I was just like, I don't know if I want to be rich that way,
Yeah.
So from there, I got this job at this music store. I met my sales engineer who would come on to be my sales engineer at Sweetwater later.
Okay.
He got to Sweetwater. He became my sales engineer. He calls me and he's like, hey, Chris, this $8 an hour, $9 an hour thing, you got to come to Sweetwater, man. Like you have to come here. So I got there,
Cool.
did that for a long time. Recently, just left the company and started Studio Help. And so, that's how I ended up here in this chair. This nice comfy chair you got for me.
Yeah. That's awesome.
That's the bird's eye view though.
So, what on the Studio Help side? So go ahead and talk about that. Like what is Studio Help? What made you, want to start it?
That is my favorite story to tell. So in my time working with Sweetwater, I was a sales engineer in the trenches, working with thousands of customers, and inevitably you're going to sell someone something that's a little bit outside of the scope of what they know.
Sure.
It solves their problem, but it's a tool they've never used. So they're not sure how the nuances of working with something.
Yep.
And if you don't know how something works and it doesn't sound good immediately, sometimes you think it's broken. And that's not always the case. Sometimes you're like judging a fish on its ability to climb a tree, and it's like, you're just the wrong things in the wrong application. So it started with, after I left Sweetwater, I had a bunch of customers reach out via different social medias. Just, hey man, I want to make sure we keep a rapport, keep a relationship. Yeah. Oh, by the way, since you're no longer focused on sales, maybe you have time to use that expertise I know you have to help me with the stuff that you didn't have time to help me with before.
Yeah.
And so it started out as a one-man operation. It was me in my place, unemployed, just helping people. I had money saved, so it wasn't like a struggling, like desperation move. It was more just like, hey, I enjoy this, and my rate was $50 an hour or something like that. It was something low. And then I had one of my really good friends and customers tell me that I pay my lawn guy more than you, man.
Yeah.
And I value you more than I value my lawn guy, man. You know, so
that's a really good way of looking at it.
Yeah.
Like,
And it became a real thing, you know, because my perspective was I wanted it to be affordable. Sure. I wanted the people that were going to need this service to not go poor trying to create the art that they're doing, you know. So since I am not, you know, a stellar musician, I wanted to do my part to make sure the people that are have as little limitations as possible, you know.
That's awesome.
So yeah, that's where it started. It started out as just training, you know, just remote training, talking people through the cabling and, hey man, this is how you use a compressor and let me listen to your mix and I'll tell you what you did wrong or ways you can improve it, you know?
Yeah.
And then it got into installs and on-site trainings where it's like, hey man, I'll hold your hand as you turn that EQ knob to make sure that we both hear and experience the same thing in the same, you know, time. So yeah, that's how Studio Hope got started. And, you know, that's now awesome. We've got, you know, a team of guys and we're really poised to do some really cool things this year. Yeah.
That's so cool. Yeah. And that's something like, I feel like you almost underplay how versatile like you and your team are, where it's like, I mean, you guys, I mean, seriously though, like, I mean, like
we do a lot.
Yeah. I mean, you handle like anything from DAWs, like any kind of outboard gear, like you guys handle lighting
consoles,
I mean,
you know, all that stuff, you know, and it didn't come from, any point of confidence or credibility, but the guys that I have on the team are we'll figure it out type of guys. Right. They're not going to go into a situation unprepared, but they are the guy that'll buy a console and program a rig on it just so that when they get to see you, they know that thing like the back of their hand, you know? So, and that kind of comes from the Sweetwater side of like doing the right thing. It's like, is the right thing to go there and figure it out on the fly with the customer, or did they pay you to be the expert when you got there, you know? So I'm a real stickler for that experience and just making sure that, if someone's going to pay us for something and they don't get the value that they want, I'm like, look, dude, you're eating that, you know, we're not charging that guy for, you know, what we couldn't provide, you know? So yeah, we are super versatile and it's just because we got that can-do attitude, you know, like, and plus no one else wants to do this the way that we want to do it. You know, everyone's looking at it from a financial side of things where it's how much money can I make off of the least amount of customers. And I'm all about solving problems, man. Like sometimes I forget to invoice people because it's like, my dopamine hit happened when I got the problem solved. Yeah. And the dude said, I clicked the button. It worked this time, Chris. And I'm like,
that's awesome.
Cool. I'll catch you later. And he's like, oh, I got to pay you. And I'm like, oh, sorry. Here. Yeah.
Right. But for real, I mean, that's one of those things like when you really are doing what you love and like so I had a conversation earlier with someone from Equitech and it's like, I mean, his role is literally like, he started out just in maintenance for studios. Right. And it was like, literally just making sure stuff worked and like in servicing things and things like that. And it's just like being able to have the ability to go in and help these people like literally create their dream and like make their dream possible. Like that's amazing. Like that's so cool. That's why I love what we do.
Yeah, like, right. Exactly.
Yeah, I mean,
this guy goes into a room and he's like, this sounds like crap. And you're like, watch.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so what's like a majority of your business based off of? Like, is it mostly like, you know, remote kind of things? Is it mostly like going in and doing on-sites? Is it doing on-site training? Like what's the majority of what you guys are doing?
So I look at it two ways. There's the, you know, the bulk buy revenue and the bulk buy, you know, kind of quantity or hits, you know.
Sure.
The most things that we get the most hits on are remote support. You know, it's a guy that just bought a plugin that for some reason he didn't click blindly and it worked, you know. It's like, oh, it's an extra step that, you know, you didn't think about. Like when you install an Apollo and you got to go into the security settings and do that thing. So that's the majority of what we get by volume, I'd say. By revenue, it's installs. It's going into a studio that you guys might have just done the acoustics on and it's pulling the wires, soldering the wall plates and making sure that when this guy gets his MIDI rig going that it just works the way it worked back in the 80s the last time he was in a professional studio or something like that. So that's that. Yeah.
That's awesome. And that's something too that, I mean, like you guys are available like 24/7 pretty much.
Dude,
like
it's hard, but I mean, again, that as long as you get your dopamine from the right places, you know, like it don't matter, man. That phone rings and you're like, oh, it's another problem I get to solve, you know, like And where the other thing that makes that easy to balance is you've got to be good about knowing who your clients are and who maybe you shouldn't work with.
Sure.
That was one of the things that I learned in my previous role was, you had to work with everybody. Everybody's money's green, and like everybody is valuable. In this one, this is a service that like we want to be able to offer to everyone, but not everyone.
Yeah. Not everyone's a good fit.
Yeah. And it's like it's very good to be able to tell that customer, hey man, like I don't think you're going to have the best experience with us because you're not willing to put in anything. You know, I've had guys sometimes call me with a keyboard they literally just got out of the box. And it's how do you turn it on, and it's like, all right, so are you asking me this because you don't want to try, or are you asking me this because you want to learn in a specific way, Right. And so like some guys, they're like, hey, I need to learn this the right way the first time because if I learn something wrong, I'm going to commit that to memory, and I can respect the heck out of that.
Yep.
But the guys that don't try, or the guys that think that their time is worth more than someone else's, it's like, this is your music, man. Like,
right.
I want to solve this problem for you, man, but
I can't help. I can't make you want to do
that. Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah. So
that's fair.
Yeah.
So, so with all of that, like, and the team's been growing too. So like what happened that made you realize, all right, this is more than this has to be more than a one-man operation?
When I started getting double booked more often than not.
Yeah.
It started out because I have undiagnosed ADHD, I'll call it, to the point where you text me about the thing. I saw your text, but I saw it at a time of night where I was like, it's rude to respond right now. And I just didn't respond for like 2 days, and it's things like that kind of like, will throw it off. So sorry, remind me of the question one more time. What was the question?
Yeah. What made you want to go, or what made you realize that, all right, this is bigger than a one-man operation?
So it started with me like kind of double booking myself or putting appointments like right back to back.
Yeah.
And if a meeting or if one goes slightly over, it's like the next guys get impacted.
Yep.
And so it was, I'm going to get a guy that's on call, kind of that, hey man, if I ever run into this situation where I sense this is about to go over, he'll jump into my next one and take care of it for me. So that like, they all have the same experience of us being punctual and on time and being quality.
Yeah.
And then it also became, hey man, Chris, you're in Indiana, but we need this thing down in Florida tomorrow. All right, well, price is $1,500 for the flight, and then whatever you got to pay me, and they're like, I can't afford that, man. Like, but I really need this help. And again, I'm not motivated by the money necessarily. I just hear this guy on the other side that's like in a pinch. He's like in the trench, getting buried, and every day that we don't help him is like, it gets worse for him, So it started with a guy down in Florida, another one of my long time friends. He used to be a sales engineer as well. And so he's been doing really good work for us on the remote side of things. He's also like a popular second man that I use for installs. So I'll fly him up and we'll go take care of a job or something like that. I grew out to, there's a guy in New York, a guy in California, a guy in Colorado. And then we have 2 guys in Michigan, a guy in Chicago. And then, the bulk of us are in Indiana.
Sure.
So yeah, we're rocking.
That's awesome.
We're rocking.
So that's kind of like the studio help bucket.
Yeah.
And now you're also working with completely separate with Audient and Korg.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that.
So that one's a fun one, man. And that whole arc articulates, you never know what a relationship will do or what your reputation can do for you.
Yep.
I left Sweetwater on a positive note. I didn't burn any bridges. I didn't, throw any F-bombs or middle fingers or nothing, I was just like, hey, I've evolved as a person because of the things that you've taught me.
Yeah.
And I'm ready to do something a little different. I don't know what it is, but I know that I need time to figure it out, you know? And Sweetwater was really, kind of sad and, but they all wish me well, everyone was really surprised because I'm one of those keep your head down kind of guys, but really I left, I was doing the Studio Hope thing. And then I got a call from one of the VPs at Sweetwater. And he basically was saying how there was a brand coming in-house and they needed someone to basically be the liaison, between Sweetwater and the brand. And it started out as just a product specialist thing. It's like, hey man, you know product very well. We know that when customers call, it doesn't matter what category, you can get them where they need to go. Now it's just a smaller curated thing. You don't have the whole damn Pro Gear catalog. You got this. I was like, oh, that's easy then, man. I can forget all this other stuff, and focus on this. So, I mean, that VP's recommendation, led to the easiest cakewalk of an interview I've ever had, which was the guy just really wanting to understand me as a person. Knowing already that he had the confidence of the company that he was trying to, get an inside person on. So it was really cool. I had never experienced anything like that, but in a more true way, like I feel like every job I've had has been like, hey man, come over here, but I've never had an interview go like, hey man, let's have a beer on Zoom and talk about, how this can work. And we just locked in. So that's awesome. How I got there. That's how I got to that chair. I do a lot more than when I started. Started out as, like I said, just a product guy, just helping the sales engineers talk to customers, being the practical and tactical guy where as soon as they need anything, I got a guy, and I answer the phone every time. It's grown now. I'm working with, we became the distributor for Audient. And so I became basically Audient US with my homie Tim Jones and a couple other guys at Korg. We're running the whole thing. We're doing console support. We're helping out with installs. We're doing post-sale support when it comes to like, I'm trying to route audio here and I can't get it, or I got an Evo and, it's acting weird or something. Or, hey man, this preamp, I'm trying to hook it up to a power amp or whatever they're trying to do, like we're the guys, So it leans more in that Studio Hope thing where it's just like, I can live in this mode for more of my life, solving more problems, helping more people, and pushing good brands, So
that's so cool.
That's where it started. Yeah.
So now, like, so are you still considered like product specialist, or is it
my? I'm not sure. I'm not sure what
the official title is.
My business card doesn't even recommend. It doesn't even directly or accurately represent what I do. But I'm like the black ops guy. There's this guy at Sweetwater, Jeff Osterman, and he's had different titles, but his title that I always fell in love with was like director of special projects or something like that. And it was just like, if Sweetwater didn't have a guy that did something specifically, he was the guy. And he would just like whatever consultants he needed to pull into the project, he just got them and got it done. And it's like, that's what I've been modeling it after ever since. I was like, that's the coolest job. I don't want to be a marketing guy. I don't want to be a finance business office guy.
Right.
I want to be the fixer. I want to be the closer that just comes in and it's like, oh, you got a line array on the floor and you need to get it up. Okay, well, let's do that. Let's call in our rigging guys and let's get that going. So
that's an awesome way to think about it, because you're right. Like Jeff does so much over there, and like high level stuff too.
Dude.
So it's just like, for you to have someone that is just like a chameleon like that is able to tackle whatever he like, and he just knows who he needs to bring in for what he needs to do. Like, that's such a cool thing.
There's no degree that can teach you that, it's just, you have to just be thrown into situations where you're uncomfortable and become more comfortable being uncomfortable,
That's such a cool way to look at it. So at the very beginning, you talked about, you started out in hip hop and like doing like producing and things like that. So how much of that are you doing now?
Man, so that is the bane of my existence, because I've gotten so busy with Studio Help and with Audient and Korg. I'm not sure I have so much musical output of my own original.
Sure.
But because of the nature of my job, I end up cutting records on installs with people and stuff like that. It's almost like the last test. As like, hey, we got everything good. And even if it's not on the trip where we finish it, I always go back at least once.
Sure.
And it's just like, hey man, what are you doing this weekend? I'm going to be in town. And he's like, oh, I'm about to actually record with these guys. Let me sit in,
Yeah.
I'll be the fly on the wall. If anything happens, just know I'm here and it don't cost you nothing,
That's so cool.
So that's my favorite stuff, is like just watching the guy like go from like stacks of Sweetwater boxes to a functional studio, and he's driving like it's been there for 30 years,
Yeah.
That's such a sweet moment, man.
That's the dopamine right there.
Yeah,
like that's
man.
what makes it all worth it. That's so cool.
It's so cool. It's like when you put a test tone into a wall plate and it pops out on the other side. You're like, we did it. Next one, let's go.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
Okay, so going back to the studio help side of things, so I know it's called studio help, but you also do like large rooms and houses of worship and things like that.
Yeah.
So do you want to like talk about that side of that business?
That is my slowly becoming like my favorite part of the business. Like I'm always going to be a studio rat working with compressors and EQs and outboard and all that, but houses of worship have really latched on to us. The way that we work with the ability to go out there and do it hands-on, the ability to go out there and even just project manage and install. You know, some churches are very resourceful. They got contractors and electricians and stuff in their congregation, and they just want to make sure that someone's watching to make sure they don't make a mistake, you know, or don't wire something wrong. We do venues. We just did one in outside of Chicago. It's like a Western style bar. It's kind of cool. They've actually got a vintage John Deere tractor on a pedestal. Like it's not a small one. It's like a combine on this pedestal in the middle of the bar. It's wild.
That's awesome. We
did a bunch of 70 volt speakers and stuff like that, and hung a small line array and everything. And I mean, that kind of stuff is it's all the same skill set.
Yeah.
And those people have problems that need to be solved. It's all just audio. So I always just want everyone to know that, like, just because the name's Studio Help, you know, it's not just studios, you know, like it's any AVL, you know, solution that you need for the most part. We do PTZ cameras and stuff like that, like all that stuff. So that's been a big one. And then I'd say that's the big behind curtain for Studio Help is that there's a significant part of it that's houses of worship and venues and just non-traditional audio applications that you'd think we do, and we do, you know. So,
it's truly just any of that AVL, like anything under AVL, like you guys can tackle.
I mean, we're responsible, you know. We're not going to fly 30 stack line arrays, you know. We're going to outsource that, and we always carry insurance and all that good stuff, you know. So we're call us, guys.
Yeah. Well, so on that note, the last thing I want to ask is just like, so if someone is interested in like your like studio help services, what is the best way to like get in touch with you and get the inquiry into you guys?
Best way, call. I mean, go on the website and call us if you want. Yeah. There's a chat thing that goes right to all of our phones. So one of us will check that out. You can also email if you want to spill your guts a little bit more in a detailed manner. You know, as much detail as you can give us on the front end, like the more effective our return phone call will be. There's a lot of times someone has given me exactly all the information and I'm like, hey man, no charge. Go click this, click this, click this. Does it work? All right, cool, man. I love you. Bye. So that's how I'd say get a hold of us. And there's always 911 at studiohelp.us. If ever you reach out and you don't get a response in a timely manner, that one goes directly to me and it blows up in a very comical way. So, definitely don't abuse it, but you know, use it if you need it.
There you go. That's awesome. Well, man, thank you again so much for being on. Like,
dude, thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, of course. I always enjoy like reconnecting and stuff. So 100%. It's always a good time.
Totally.
So we'll go ahead and link everything for Studio Help down in the description below. So if you have any questions about anything AVL, hit up Chris. And that's been another episode of the Sound Project. We'll see you next week.